When I say main antagonist of the Mario franchise, you'll think of Bowser. When I say main antagonist of the Zelda franchise, you'll think of Ganondorf, Kirby, King Dedede, Donkey Kong, King K. Rool, Animal Crossing, Caesar. But when I say Pikmin, who comes to mind? Emperor Bulbax, Titan Dweevil, Plasm Wraith? None of the above. It's Louie. They'll tell you he's Captain Olimar's co-worker, his companion. No, this man is an evil specimen making the lives of Pikmin captains miserable. He made his debut in Pikmin 2, where he helps Olimar collect treasures on PNF 404 for their company. You know, it may be his 9 to 5, but he's helping out with the main plot of the game, so this is actually a good look for Louie, until you realize he's the reason we have to be doing this in the first place. This goofball had his company's shipment of luxury carrots snatched by a bunny. Actually, the real goofball here is the president entrusting Louie with a valuable delivery. The company had to take out a large loan and sell Olimar's ship for something Louie did. What did Olimar do to deserve this? But then he drops a souvenir he brought from the Pikmin planet. A company ship sees this and says, "This stuff is valuable. Go get more." And so that's how Louie and Olimar ended up back with the Pikmin. He talked a lot about finally seeing his family when he returned in Pikmin 1, and now he has to go right back because of Louie. The game proceeds as normal. Louie and Olimar collect enough treasure to pay off the debt and they return home. But no, Louie's involved, so something has to go wrong. In this case, Olimar leaves him behind on the planet. He checked all the systems, ensured he had enough fuel, said goodbye to the Pikmin, started the ship, and took off without realizing that the only other human he came with wasn't with him. This is sort of an Olimar L, but this is a Louie villain video, so we'll shift the blame to him. But where was Louie during all this? Well, when Olimar returned after realizing he left him behind, he found him resting on the Titan Dweevil. This is a dangerous enemy who lurks in the Dream Den, which is about 14 sublevels deep. This means Louie helped Olimar find the necessary ship parts, and when they were finished, found a cave entrance, kept going deeper until he was at the bottom, found this giant monster, then climbed on it and took a nap. This thing's the final boss of the game, meaning the only reason this game has a final boss is because of Louie. Great for us players, but a what the hell moment for the characters. But that's not all. It's implied that during the battle, Louie was actually controlling the creature. This is sort of a theory. I mean, he's just sitting on it, but when you carry him into the ship after the fight, it calls him the King of the Bugs. And this argument is further strengthened by the events of Pikmin 4 that I'll cover in a second. Assuming Louie was controlling it, this means he was deliberately trying to burn, electrocute, drown, and poison Olimar and the president. Reminder, Louie stays employed after this. Once defeated, the thing dissolves away, Louie pretends to be passed out, and everyone goes back home. And after all that, that's still not the end of Louie's scandals. We later find out that Louie ate the luxury carrots. He never lost them, he shoved every one of them down his stupid little esophagus. So that means Louie was responsible for the main conflict and final boss of Pikmin 2. You absolute buffoon. But what about Pikmin 3? What did Louie do in Pikmin 3? He didn't have as big of a role, but he still got his usual be as big of a pain as possible-ing off during this game. We start off with Louie sending an SOS message intended for Captain Olimar. However, the Kopite captains, Charlie, Brittany, and Blue Olimar receive it instead. He says he needs help, and the protags make the mistake of saving him. He's deep asleep when rescued, so they just leave him there and go to sleep. First thing in the morning, Brother hops off the ship and explodes something. We soon find out that Louie took the juice, keeping the captains alive, and even worse, Charlie's rubber ducky. You do not take another man's rubber ducky. This is arguably the worst thing Louie has done, but this was really all he did in Pikmin 3. He was eventually found and even helped the captains find Olimar in the formidable oak. This leads to the final boss, and Olimar hands over the cosmic drive key, and everyone gets home safely. So I guess Louie was sorta useful, but still a pain. So that leads me to Pikmin 4, and boy howdy is there a lot to talk about. First off, Louie doesn't actually appear in the main game. You go through the whole Rescue Olimar quest without ever seeing him, and roll credits. However, right there is when he makes his first appearance, in the credits. You can see him finding Moss and riding away with her. The first time we see him in the postgame is in the Giant's Hearth, with Moss and off-brand Alf. So now Louie's playing the villain who has something we need but keeps running away. We later see him going into a cave with Alf too, and this leads to a Dandori battle between him and the protagonist. Once defeated, Brother says, I'ma head out. We encounter him once again in the primordial thicket, and this time he has Brittany too, who we need to heal Ochi and get out of here. He runs off once again into a cave, and we defeat him once again, and he runs again, this time leaving Moss behind. I'm surprised he didn't eat her. But by now we have the vet, Nell, who explains that we now need cells from a big dog that Louie happened to tame. So the protagonist goes down a 20 sub-level cave. How does Louie get to the bottom of these without dying to enemies? Once we get to the end, we find Louie on the ancient Sire Hound. How on earth he got on this thing aside, Louie is literally the final boss of this game. This is just Pikmin 2 all over again, except this time it's obvious that he's in control, trying to crush, freeze, whatever this is, electrocute, and burn the player. Louie's literally evil. Oh, thank goodness. I think he's okay. This man's trying to kill you all. Man, what are y'all rescuing him for? You just know he's gonna cause some big problems in Pikmin 5. After the final, the end cutscene of the ship leaving, the game just drops you off back at the main base on the planet as if the farewell never happened, now with Louie there. After all that trouble he caused, he asks you to do stuff for him. Dude wants us to kill and bring enemies for him to eat. I'm not your DoorDasher. And the reward you get is an extra hand. It's an item that lets you, the captain, carry items and treasure with the strength of one Pikmin. First off, why is a walking plant the same strength as an entire human? Second, this is an item you get at the end of the game. What use do we have for it by then? Listen, I'm grateful for Louie's existence. If it weren't for him, we wouldn't have Pikmin 2, the climax of Pikmin 3, or the postgame of Pikmin 4. As a player, I appreciate Louie's actions. But if I'm Captain Olimar, I ain't going back for him in Pikmin 2.